Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. My name is DK, and I'm your personal trainer. I'm here with my co-host, Trisha, and we're going to talk about gratitude today. Happiness, it's not a bad goal, everybody, but the missing ingredient could potentially be gratitude in your life. If you're finding that you're living mostly in misery, that you have a bad attitude, that you're not exactly thrilled with the way that your life is going, we're going to practice gratitude. We're going to talk about responsibility, accountability, all the things that some of us don't want to hear, but you need to hear it, and you need to hear it here on the Burn Bootcamp podcast. Here we go. Welcome to the Burn Podcast, where strength meets science, food fuels energy, and mindset creates momentum. I'm DK, your personal trainer, and I want you to train, eat, and think differently. So get ready to take your health and fitness to the next level here on the Burn Podcast. Let's get to work. All right, everybody. Happiness is something that we all chase. It's something that we think that we want. It's some like permanent mindset that we all believe that at some point in our life we should attain this permanent place of happiness and being content and being tranquil. The reality, Trisha, though, is that's not the reality. And happiness, I'm not sure if it's such a great goal. What do you think?
I mean, I think it sounds like a nice idea, but it's life is hard. There are challenges in life, and it's just not something that if you're focused on just being happy, you're not going to hit that goal 100% of the time.
So what Trisha and I want you guys to do is to consider the following. And the following is to stop chasing happiness and to start chasing gratitude. Start not chasing it, but practicing it. Because when you practice gratitude on a regular, consistent, daily basis, watch your life transform. This isn't, magic. This isn't like, me like, what's the matador with the bull, like with the red thing, like, what do they say? Ole, ole. I'm not olaying you on this one, okay? This is just real, practical, sound psychology. When you are somebody who does the boring work of practicing gratitude intentionally, day in and day out, you will then be happy. You found a quote, I think, that was something that I thought was profound from a dude named David. Who's this guy you found?
David Steindl-Rast. I guess his official title is Brother David Steindl-Rast because he is a monk, an interfaith spiritual teacher. He's the founder of grateful.org, and he has a TED Talk on gratitude. And in his TED Talk, Want to Be Happy, Be Grateful, he says, it is not happiness that makes us grateful. It is gratefulness that makes us happy. And if you just sit there and pause, I mean, I came into today feeling overwhelmed and just, not really feeling my best, but then reminding myself of the topic that we were going to be talking about today. It is incredible if you just take a step back and you think about what there is to be grateful for. It's like an instant calming.
Yeah, it is. And it is an instant way to put you into a psychological frame that's going to make you motivated for the day. And this is a daily practice. And so I agree with Mr. Steindl-Rast. He says you want to be happy, be grateful in his TED Talk. And he says it's not happiness that makes us grateful. It's gratefulness that makes us happy. And happy is it's an interesting word. I want to ask you guys a question. Do you often wonder, think about, ask your best friend, your wife, your husband, your spouse, do you often ask that question, don't you just want to be happier? And how difficult is it just to chase happiness when it's this fleeting thing? I mean, even when, take my perspective, for example. Okay, so I'm somebody that comes from not a lot, right? My father is in and out of jail as I'm growing up. My mom abandons the family when we're young. I'm a man. I'm the man of the house early. When I look back on my life from 12 to 18, I almost realize that during that time, the only periods of time I was really happy when I was hanging out with my friends or Morgan or playing sports. Mm-hmm. And anytime that I was at my house, I was never happy because I always had an opportunity to look at something and say, I'm running from this or I'm running from that, or, because the cops come over on the weekends, like this isn't it. This isn't an environment, that's conducive for me to be successful at all. And most kids that come from where I come from, they just end up in a bigger ditch than their parents dug, right? It's like you just follow suit. And I kid you not, from an early age, when I was around 12 or 13 years old, I found a Tony Robbins Personal Power CD, and he talked about, it was like a CD, right? Like you put it in your Walkman, and you'd go back, and I'd walk back and forth to school or ride my bike back and forth to school and listen to, for whatever reason, it's kind of crazy, but I think I was just looking for a father figure, like some type of like some guidance in life. And the reality is that the gratitude that I had for the ability to play sports was the one thing that kept me happy when everything else in my life, I should be a statistic. I should be like almost every other kid that grows up in a poverty-stricken environment that I grew up in. But I was so grateful to be able to go spend the night with Morgan's at her house. Or I was so grateful to be able to step on a baseball field and have talent. And I knew that was going to get me out of the situation. So the one sliver of life that was going well for me, I put all of my gratitude in that bucket. And what that did is that overcame all the unhappiness that I was feeling elsewhere. And I can look back on my 12 years to 18 years, and I can honestly say that I had a great time. Like, yeah, my father went to jail 4 times during that period, and we had, 50 domestic criminal charges filed in my household during that period. But when I look back on those moments, like those are some of the best years of my life because of my love for sports and the gratitude that I had for just being out there. So gratitude is the antidote to unhappiness, and a little bit of gratitude can outweigh like almost like decades of unhappiness or being a victim, or I could have easily been somebody that was targeted. I could have been a victim. I could have had all these, belief systems that said, why me and my parents and how I didn't do it and why am I not loved and all these things. It's like, no, I'm actually just grateful that I'm here breathing and that I get to play this sport that I love. And because of that, because of this one thing that I'm grateful for, now I can be happy and have a different outlook and perspective on the rest of life. And so I learned about gratitude really early on. And then, I lost the sense of gratitude there in like my late 20s, early 30s for a while. And everything became a problem again, and everything, started stacking up. And I realized it was because of my own personal choices and my personal actions. I wasn't waking up every day anymore grateful for the opportunity to deal with problems, to solve people's issues. I was growing as an entrepreneur, as a leader. And I went through that rough patch where, like, when you have all the businesses and the, all the things that every entrepreneur could ever want, the reason that they start a business in the first place. I had all these things by like 30 years old, plus some. And I realized that I wasn't happy. And it wasn't until I started starting my power hour, which we're going to talk about a little bit today, but a routine of gratitude. When I started to pick back up the routine of gratitude and started focusing my attention and energy not on what I was getting, but on what I was helping other people get, it flipped my entire life upside down. And I started feeling better again and feeling more happy, because we do want to be happy. Don't you want to be happy? I want to be happy. Everybody wants to be happy. Nobody wants to be miserable. But the gateway to happiness is not chasing happiness, and that's what we're talking about today.
Do you think there's a level of EQ that comes with being grateful? Because I just know that, like, you were put in a situation to where you shouldn't have known that to focus on gratitude or the grateful things, the good things that were happening in your life. You could have easily, like you said, had the victim mentality. I know I've come across people who do have a victim mentality. So what is the difference between you and that person?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. Wow, what a great question. So here's what comes to my mind. There's 2 forms of intelligence. So you have IQ, intellectual quotient, but your ability to solve problems. It's pretty static. It's pretty rigid. You're kind of born with it. Then you have EQ, which is your emotional quotient. This is how you view yourself, how you interact with yourself. That's one half of the definition. The other half is then from that sense of self, how do you get along with the environment? Yeah. So yourself in the environment. Yeah. This is learnable. These are malleable traits. You can get better at EQ. You can't really get better at IQ. Did I tell you guys that I took an IQ test? I was so excited. I got this little email and I was like, took the whole like hour and a half like IQ test, and I waited like 3 days, and I was, I know that I'm not like 100, and I know that I'm not like a 145, which is like Einstein versus like, I don't know, below average intelligence. Or do you want to know what my IQ is?
Yeah,
according to this test. And I have really no idea what this means other than it's like kind of middle of the road. It's 122.
Okay.
I got a 122.
It's good.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's good or not.
20 points away from Einstein?
I think it's like that's a good IQ for an entrepreneur, like 115 to 125, because you're not smart enough to see all the pitfalls before they happen, but you're also smart enough to come up with the strategies.
Yeah.
So it's this nice little pocket. I think it's the entrepreneurial IQ, but the EQ is far more important. Yeah. And even if you're somebody with 100 or a 110, as long as you know your strengths and you're self-aware enough, you can start to build your EQ. And I'll tell you what, EQ is like 1,000% more effective when it comes to like moving up in the hierarchy of life. Emotional Intelligence 2.0. DJ, can you, by the way, we got DJ here, everybody, in the building today for the podcast. Let's go, DJ.
Hi, everyone.
And DJ is going to be running the internet for us. DJ, what we're going to look up?
Emotional Intelligence.
Yeah, look up Emotional Intelligence 2.0. I want to show everybody the cover of that book real quick. I just had a focus meeting on Monday with a member from Harrisburg, North Carolina, and I put them onto this book. And I want to put you guys onto this book if you haven't heard it before as well.
You had me read this book.
I did have you read this book. No matter how smart you are, people, I don't care what your IQ is. It doesn't matter. EQ is where it's at. That's where 98% of all success comes from. Emotional intelligence, how you speak and interact and behave with yourself, and then how yourself behaves with the other people in your environment. You can get better at this, and I want you all to know that emotional intelligence, your emotional quotient, your EQ, is the great separator. And part of EQ is your ability to recognize when you're not being grateful, right? Because gratitude is a character trait, and EQ is, what it's your emotional intelligence. So what leads to your emotions, right? Like feelings and emotion. What's gratitude? Gratitude's just a feeling. It's a perception. It's a perspective. It's a choice. It's a decision to feel important, to feel honored, to feel significant because of little things, because of the way the wind blows on your face, because of the smile on your child's face, because of the position that you have in society, because of the position that you have in work. Where we get depressed is when it's all about me, all poor me all the time, and I'm always focused on me, my, I, my outcome, my situation, me and my friend. Look, we never get treated this way. Like, if you're going to be somebody who has a victim mentality, that's the antidote to gratitude. If you can't be thankful for the things that you do have in your life, and everything is always an outsourced problem, you're going to be what's called entitled or victimized. You can be a victor or you can be a victim, but you can't be both. And you see this.
Yeah.
You see this playing out everywhere in your life. Go through the most important 3 people in your life right now and categorize them victim or victor. And it's very easy to spot that. And what are you? And I want you to be honest with yourself on the podcast today. Are we willing to do that?
Yeah, always.
Willing to be honest with yourself. And if you are, you can ask yourself, how often do I practice gratitude? We're going to talk in depth about that today. Before we do that, Nutrition November is here, everybody. And if you're somebody that's working out hard in the gym, like I know you are, it's a staple of our philosophy here at the Burn Boot Camp podcast, then I know you're going to need to replenish that sweat. Check out shop.burnbootcamp.com. We just launched not too long ago our newest flavor, Cherry Frost.
Yum.
Ooh, it's so good. You have orange, you have lemon lime, you have fruit punch, now you have Cherry Frost. And this might not be popular, but just because something new comes out, Cherry Frost, don't be trying to take the top spot in my palate. Cherry Frost trying to hijack lemon lime as the number one
still
spot.
lemon
Dude,
lime?
I'm a lemon lime guy all the way.
Okay.
Cherry Frost is good, though. I'm not going to lie. It tastes like that Glacier Gatorade from back in the day without all the bad stuff in it.
Yeah, or the
Without all the
slushies.
artificial dyes and,
Yeah.
preservatives and et cetera. What's your go-to replenish flavor?
So fruit punch, and talk about gratefulness. My 4-year-old, every single morning, he makes me mama's juice, and we share it. So we make a fruit punch replenish. I get half, and he gets half, and it makes me so happy because he does a little scooper. We love replenish in my house, fruit punch, and we do have cherry frost. I do like cherry frost. I can't get down with the lemon lime though.
Me and you are going to have problems
I
here, Trisha.
know.
We're going to have a big. What about you, DJ? What do you got?
I do a mixture.
You got a
Okay?
mixture?
Hear me out. Yeah. Fruit punch
Okay, got it.
with like a little bit of lemon lime.
Okay.
Because then it takes back, at least for me personally, fruit punch is a little sweet. So I put a little bit of lemon lime in there. And then it's like really like the full fruit punch variety flavor.
Little
Yeah. Just
yeah.
try it out.
Add a
Try it
little
out.
dab of vodka at
Oh,
9 a.m. on
hey.
Tuesday, and now we're ready to
Wow.
rock and roll. That's great. Okay, you're a fruit punch,
Mixologist.
lemon orange frost person. Got it. All right, making a concoction. What's your favorite form of replenish? Go to shop.burnbootcamp.com right now. Enter promo code POD10. Do we have a QR code yet on the screen? We don't have a QR code. We're going to get a QR code. We're getting fancy around the Burn Bootcamp podcast. We're going to get a QR code in the future. But for now, go to shop.burnbootcamp.com and enter code POD10. Get 10% off of your favorite replenish flavor. And remember, every purchase online always supports your local location if you do have one. All right, everybody. Go get that replenished. We are going to dive into the meat of the episode today. Trisha, are you ready?
I am so excited.
We're going to start with a question. And the question that I want to pose to everybody is, why is happiness a bad goal? I'm going to give you a shot at this one, Trish. I want to hear from you. What's your take on it? Why is happiness a bad goal from your perspective? I've given you a little bit of why it is from my perspective. In your own life, why is it a bad idea just to chase happiness?
Because life is hard and it throws curveballs at you left and right. And so if you're trying to chase happiness and you give yourself milestones to chase that, your milestones are going to be unpredictable because whatever the day throws at you. I mean, I'm talking through experience, right? Like I can't always just show up happy, but I can show up grateful. And then that creates happiness.
Yeah, it definitely does. And happiness itself is also, there's psychological underpinnings that give limits to human happiness. Let me explain what I'm talking about. So, and you will all know this because you will have had something in your life, whether it be a career, a weight loss goal, a new house, a new car, like whatever it is that makes you think that you're going to be happy, you get it. And then what happens is about 2 weeks later, you're back to your baseline. Yeah. And it's going to take that next hit of happiness. So happiness in itself is very similar to drugs.
Yeah.
It's very similar to drugs because people who are drug addicts would look forward to, let's just say, using. And then once they use, they're happy for a minute. And then once they come down off that high of that drug, then they have to go back and they have to use more. And then you have to use more and you have to use more. And now all of a sudden you can never be satisfied. Yeah. And you're using all the time. So people that are chasing happiness, what happens is inevitably, it could be slower for some. It could be faster for others. Inevitably, if you're somebody that chases happiness, guess where you're going? Guess where you're going? Yeah. And you're going to end up at mild to deep depression because you're constantly needing to be happy. Mm-hmm. You're constantly needing to be happy. When you're grateful for what you already have and your level of happiness is, you don't need things in life. Okay, there's this thing called in psychology called the hedonic treadmill. You ever heard of that?
No.
Okay, everybody Google if you want to follow along here and you're like, what the hell is this thing? You can Google along with it. But it is a fact. I believe it was a psychologist named I think hedonic treadmill was Daniel Gilbert or something along those lines. I can't remember from the exact paper I read. Can you just Google who came up with the hedonic treadmill? He's a psychologist. I think his name was Daniel Gilbert or something or other. Anyways, the hedonic treadmill basically says, as I approach my happiness goal, like I reach it, I'm happy for 2 weeks, I renormalize that baseline, and then it takes me another happiness goal, and it's this hamster wheel of happiness. Like no matter what, you can never, if you're chasing happiness, you can never be happy. Except for in short periods of like 2 weeks. You know the happiness when you get a new car, Trisha, or you get a new house, and it's like you're excited. You have like the moment when you high five or hug your spouse. You guys share a dinner. It's like so happy. You look at and reflecting for all the gratitude that we have in our life, and then 2 weeks later, it's like you're just back to the old rhythm of kind of.
The newness has worn off.
Newness is worn off. It's called the hedonic treadmill.
And it was introduced by psychologists Brickman and Campbell in 1971.
What did Gilbert do on this one? Can you ask that? Just maybe. GPT is always good for those like super specific questions. But what Dan Gilbert? Because I think he's a Harvard guy. Anyway, the hedonic treadmill is just it's a principle that says if you're chasing happiness, here's what actually happens to you: that you chase it, you get it, it goes away. You chase it, you get it, it goes away. It's harder to get. The refractory period of the happiness is shorter, meaning once I do achieve the goal, it's longer to get the happiness because it requires more effort. When I do get it, the refractory period is shorter, meaning it lasts less and less and less and less time, to the point where it almost doesn't exist at all. And now I'm somebody who needs the outside world in order to be happy. I can no longer go internal to be happy. And this is a big problem. This is where we get depression. This is Dan Gilbert, by the way. He has done work closely related to the phenomenon called the hedonic treadmill. So not the inventor of it, but just for all my nerds out there who love this stuff like I do. That's my guy. But there's your emotional intensity versus time, right? And in the curve of happiness, the hypothetical time of predicted and expected emotion. But Trish, when you see this, like, I wanted to put this backdrop to it that says, hey, this isn't just someone's like, this isn't like an opinion where you go back and examine your life using your memory and, you look back and there's this notion of this treadmill ideology. No, this actually psychologically happens with all humans. And if you know this, now you're educated. That means you're like almost all the way there, right? You now know like happiness is not a good goal, because once you get it, it's like drugs. You're going to need more of it. It's literally the same thing as outside, not literally the same thing, but it's psychologically literally the same thing as drugs.
Yeah. And that makes sense. And I'm just thinking about it from like a work perspective, because like if you are at a workplace and you think like the only thing that's going to make you happy is more money, but like, is it actually going to make you happy? What are you actually chasing? Because it's probably not the money part. You got to figure out what that is and how you can actually be like grateful to show up. That's the first thing that came to my mind, and that I think a lot of people could resonate with. Is like don't always chase something that's like going to go away.
So I'd like to hear that from you before we move on, because the next question that I want to answer is, what's a better goal than happiness? Right? Which I think we know is going to be gratitude, but how do we answer that question more in depth will be where we go next. What's a better goal than happiness? But when you think about what you're grateful for and maybe your happiness to grateful paradox, has that shifted over time for you? Are you, and I think it probably has, right? So I'm asking Trisha a loaded question, because as you're younger, and let's just say you're in your young 20s, that you haven't had enough adult experience yet. You haven't had that 20 to 40 experience yet to play out where you chase the job and you chase the happiness, and what all sound psychological adults realize at age, I don't know, it could be 32, 42, 50, whatever. In your adult life, you're going to realize that things never make you happy. It's always memories. It's always the emotional connection that you have with the people that you love in your life the most is going to be what life is all about. But we don't necessarily think that way. I didn't think that way.
Yeah.
Like, I have a picture. I don't know if you guys can find this on my Instagram, DJ. It's a long time ago, but I'm in New York City as like a young 20-something. And every time I look at a hard situation, I'm like, I'm going to dominate this situation. So I'm in Central Park, and we don't have any gyms in New York City yet, but I stand up on a rock and I put my arms out like this as like I'm going to like take over the city, or I'm like Batman or something. And I'm standing on a rock and looking out over the city as if to say, like, I'm this 26-year-old person and my happiness is going to be in the dominance of this market, right? And I have all of my at least the majority of my happiness came from work and ambition and fulfilling that. And I left my own personal happiness actually got left on the table. And I almost had none of it because I was chasing that fleeting. I would get it and it'd go away. I'd get it and it'd go away. Every new gym, get it, go away, get it, go away. And it became such a short refractory period that I just, in order to feel anything at all, I started turning to like alcohol. And I kept going in that spiral I'm talking about until I woke up one day like, what the hell am I really going to live my entire life like being the guy staring at the skyscraper saying I'm going to dominate this? Like, it's kind of stupid when you look at it. But I wouldn't change that type of energy for anything because it helped kind of mold me into what I am today, which is somebody that doesn't need a lot to be happy. I just need the wind on my face or the thought of a smile from one of my children to really reinforce the station in my life where I'm supposed to be at.
But you could be grateful, and I'm asking this because I feel like similar to you, I'm competitive and I like setting goals. And reaching those goals does make me happy, but I'm also grateful for the opportunity to be able to reach those goals. Can that be the same?
Yeah, you definitely can. That's a great question. So the question is the idea of reaching the goals, is the idea of having gratitude or the ability or the opportunity to reach a goal different than actually reaching the goal itself? And the answer is 100%, because now you're not wrapping up your identity in the achievement of the goal, and which means that you are just happy for the opportunity. I always said that no matter what I want in life is to have the opportunity to be world class at something. And at first it was baseball. And so I had this idea from very early on, I think naturally, probably from like the Tony Robbins days and just listening to him a bunch. But just having the opportunity to be world class at something. Like you're given a shot, you're given a chance, whether it's sewing or your Mighty Mouse YouTube channel or Burn Boot Camp or your supplement company or the best parent in the world. It's like, I need the opportunity to be the best at something. And if I can have the opportunity, which is an inherent, just a decision, then I can be grateful for that opportunity. Oh, this is the picture of me.
That's great. Who took this picture?
I did.
This is DJ.
Yeah, I actually just found it in my photos instead. I typed in Central Park because I'm like, I know exactly the picture that he's talking about, but he is right. It's down there on the page. But yeah, here it is.
And it was, I remember the mindset at that time. And look at those 2012 length basketball shorts. Yeah. I don't wear the 12 inches anymore. I'll be showing more thighs nowadays. But, just the mindset of that guy is much different. The mindset of that guy was like, see all, kill all. And that was probably the most unhappy that I ever was. And you know what's crazy? And when I stopped identifying with that guy, that one that only was happy if everything from an ambition perspective was going right, and that was my identity. Once I stopped correlating my happiness to that, what happened is I started letting go. We're going to talk about this later too. We started letting go and detaching from that, and everything started happening much faster.
Because you're trying less.
We're gonna talk about that. But I want to keep this chronological. So let me ask you that question. How has that evolved for you? I gave you a little narrative on how it's evolved for me. How has it evolved for you? Happiness, gratitude over the years from young 20s now up to a mom in her late 30s.
I mean, I think as a teenager, you're just confused at life. And I don't know if you're happy or you're sad, whatever. You just have so many emotions all the time. But the thing that comes to my mind, the first thing that comes to my mind is right after I had my second kid. And I was like supposed to be happy because I had these two beautiful kids. And I was, but like I was battling postpartum depression. I've talked about this a lot. And this was my journey to finding what actually made me happy, I think, for the first time in my entire life. And it's now 10 years later, and I'm not perfect at that, but I do have a much better understanding of how what I basically just said is I like to set goals for myself. I also really am grateful for my family. So for me to be happy is to be grateful for the opportunities that I have in my workplace, because that keeps me motivated. It keeps my mind fresh. And then also to be grateful for the time that I get with my kids and for showing them that hard work pays off. I think that that's what makes me grateful for. So that's been my journey. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And there's a whole experience that you go through of pain throughout that you didn't necessarily touch on. Am I saying that the opposite, if chasing happiness isn't a great goal, am I saying that what you should do is then live in misery the whole time? I'm not saying that necessarily, but what I am saying is that you need to feel pain in order to feel happiness. So
Yeah.
you can't have this goal of being happy 24/7, 365. You can be grateful 24/7, 365, but even when you're grateful, you're not going to be happy. Those two
Right.
things aren't necessarily always correlated, because tragedy is going to happen, and you're going to need to feel pain if you want to move through life and become a psychologically, emotionally sound person.
Yeah.
The only way to get there is to actually go through the pain, and that's the practice, right? How can you be grateful in the face of the worst pain in life?
Mm-hmm.
And if you have an answer to that question right now, I can bet that you're pretty psychologically sound.
Yeah.
So what is a better goal? It's it's practicing gratitude. And how do we do that? It's daily, but really the philosophy is grateful people have responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Grateful people have accountability, right? Because of the nature of unrealistic, fleeting happiness, what keeps us grounded, what keeps us solid is the meaning in life.
Mm-hmm.
It's not happiness. It's the meaning that I want you to find. You should always be very clear on what your meaning is.
Mm-hmm.
What's your purpose? And sometimes your purpose is going to require you to go through pain. I'll give you an example. I can't sit here and say 10,000 locations going to the moon, Burn Boot Camp is going to serve the entire world, and we are going to do so longer, better, more impactful with our franchise partners and our team members first. We're going to do that better than anybody else has ever done that in the history of the world. For me to say that, and then to also expect for it to be a rainbow road the whole time, is a silly notion. It's going to actually be like the road less traveled is the road more rigid. So to do something that you've never done before, actually it's the opposite. It's 90% of that journey is going to be rocks and ridges and falling off the cliff and scraping your knee. You're trying to forge a new path. The road isn't already there. It's going to be mostly pain. How do I deal with the pain, but also still be a grateful person? A grateful person is the outcome, not a happy person. If you're happy all the time, I think that's pretty useless.
Mm-hmm.
Just to be happy all the time. Have you ever met somebody that's happy all the time? You know what I think about that person? They're a fake.
Yeah.
You're not happy all the time. You're putting on a front that you're happy all the time because you've identified, you've created this personality, this identity that needs to be happy all the time.
Mm-hmm. And
then people start to read, I don't know what it is about that person. They're too happy. They're and that is a real thing. Like there are people that walk around that just have this mask on and bury the misery, and you can see it on their face.
Mm-hmm.
At least I can, being an emotionally intelligent person and really practicing my emotional intelligence. Can you see somebody when they're happy on the face but not
100%.
behind the scenes?
Yeah. No, I feel that. And I'm also, I mean, it's a mindset thing, right? Because I'm literally just thinking about a moment when I was showing up as like not who I wanted to show up as, but I didn't practice gratitude that day. I didn't think about anything good. I was only thinking about, and we've talked about this before, where it's just you. What are you doing? Like, you're being selfish. At the end of the day, you're being selfish if you are thinking that you're, just because you're not happy, you're being selfish. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's a mindset shift in what you have to be thinking about. So if you're one of those people right now who's in a bad spot and you're like, I am not happy, think about what you can think about that can make you feel grateful.
Mm-hmm. Because you cannot experience happiness and sadness content and discontent. You can't experience gratitude and hatred simultaneously. We do not have the capacity to experience multiple emotions simultaneously. So we'll move on to like what's a better goal. If gratitude is a better goal than happiness, and responsibility and accountability are better goals than happiness, well then what's the actual practice to be able to do so? And gratitude, unlike IQ, where IQ is fixed and you can't really become a better generalized problem solver. You can become better at solving a specific problem. Like I could get better at putting together a 1,000-piece puzzle. I could get faster, better, more efficient at it. When I'm practicing something over and over and over and over and over, but when given a random problem, IQ says when given a random problem, you don't really change that. That's it's pretty much fixed from the time that you're born. So how do you get better at EQ? Gratitude. How do you get better at gratitude? Practice it the same way you get better biceps by practicing curls. You're going to get better EQ by practicing gratitude. EQ and gratitude go hand in hand. Gratitude is the practice of the core practice of, not all of the practices, but the core practice of EQ, emotional intelligence. So how do we do that? There's many, many, many ways to do that. I'll give you mine. Trisha, you can go through your example, and I'll do that here right now, and I'll take just a couple minutes to talk with you guys about how I practice gratitude on a daily basis. When I first started out, I heard about this, but I didn't really do it. I would go through the motions of gratitude, meaning that I would think about it, but I wouldn't think about it in a fixed time frame in the day where like I knew this was my spot for gratitude. So it was very random. And here's the most important point that you guys are going to learn all day long when it comes to gratitude versus happiness versus when you feel gratitude is when you start to change, not when you just think about it. I can think about the color blue and I can visualize the color blue. But if I start to feel the color blue, now I start to have an emotion connected with the color blue. What's an emotion connected with the color blue? Sadness. So if I just think about the color blue, it's abstract. But if I feel blue, now I have a real emotional energy connected with that information. So I stopped all that. This random kind of, maybe I'm grateful today, maybe I'm not. And I started waking up doing something called a power hour. And a power hour is when I get up in the morning before everybody else, 5 a.m., 5:30, sometimes 5:45. And I will spend 20 minutes usually running or some light activity just to wake myself up. And I'll spend 20 minutes in doing a hot-cold contrast. So I'll sit in my sauna and then I'll go into the cold tub for a minute or two and then I'll go back into the sauna. And during that time in the sauna, when I first go in there, my first 20 minutes in the sauna is a practice of gratitude. I literally will write down on my phone. I'll have my phone with me. I'll play some meditation music and I'll write down 3 things that I'm grateful for. It'll usually be one big macro thing. Like, gosh, I'm so grateful for, my position and station in life to have such a great responsibility over millions of people who are wanting to take care of their health and their happiness and make their family better. Wow, what a privilege it is to be able to go through the struggles that I'll have to go through in order to fulfill this calling. Gosh, how incredibly grateful I am to be in this position that many people would literally give their left pinky to be in. If you told them, hey, cut your left pinky off and you can be in Devin's position and you were, a startup entrepreneur that doesn't have any, my bet is that 90% of entrepreneurs would give like a nub. They'd give like a little nub. I'm dead serious. I think 90% of people would take that pinky finger off, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. I should be grateful for the position I'm in, and then I still have my finger. I'm good. I should be grateful. And so I make sure every single morning I'm grateful for the position in the hierarchy of society that I'm in. And then I go right to the smallest thing that I could, and that maybe 5 minutes, right? I'm thinking about the big thing. I'm thinking about it, but also how I feel about it. And I need to feel that emotion. I need to get the chills. If I don't get the chills, then I'm not practicing gratitude. Then I go right to the smallest possible thing I can actually come up with. Like, I am so grateful for the way that my son dropped his fork full of protein pancake syrup on the ground this morning, and without me even saying anything, jumped out of his chair, went and got a napkin, got some water on it, wiped it down. Like, what an amazing child that I'm creating, that I'm leading. What an amazing human being. Look at that responsibility right in real time. That's because of your leadership, Dad. And I need to feel grateful for that. And I need to project out the pleasure that I'm going to get in my life from seeing my children grow up being such stewards of core values and doing the thing. Nobody told this kid to pick that up, and he did it while no one was watching. What an amazing dad you are. And then I'll do one more thing, and I will be grateful for someone else in my life, otherwise who I would have not thought about today unless I sat down and I wrote it down. And that's a random person. Most times I can't even give you an example because it'd be like so random. It'll be in the moment. This morning, actually, I met a gentleman, Derek, who pull up Derek's transformation picture on my Instagram. Go back a little ways. It was from Ackworth, the Mark of Excellence in Ackworth, which was a few weeks ago. And I had posted this picture of Derek because Derek was somebody who, by the way, let me tell you a story real quick. Derek is a member who was a severe alcoholic who fell asleep in a parking lot of McDonald's with his foot on the brake, passed out drunk. Cops came and got him, went to jail, woke up the next day, said, never again am I going to be the person that ends up in the clink after falling asleep because I was intoxicated in a fast food parking lot. Check out your screen. You'll see Derek. And so Derek had told me that he was going to come to Lake Norman. And so he actually hooked up with Flint. And if you guys don't know Flint, maybe you can flash a picture up there of Flint too, DJ. Well, Derek and Flint, when I posted Derek's story, Flint is one of my members at Lake Norman I'm working with, they became friends.
Oh, I love this.
So Derek then comes all the way to Lake Norman to meet up with Flint and says, yo, DK, I'm going to be in Lake Norman. I'm meeting up with Flint. He comes to me and he says, hey, I just want you to know, when you posted our picture online, the amount of messages that I got literally like took me like 2 hours to go through. And I was crying the whole time.
Oh,
I was crying the whole time. I was reading these messages and people giving me congratulations. Nobody was judging me. Everybody wasn't defining me by the story that you told of me passing out in the parking lot of McDonald's, but I was defined by my actions that I took afterward. After I was at my lowest, what action did I take next? And Burn Nation showed up for me. And then here's a photo of us just all talking about that the other day at camp. And so I thought about him, and I thought about how grateful I am for him driving up to Lake Norman, how grateful I am for the connection that he's making. And then I said, wow, Devin, what a connector you are. And I am grateful for your own ability to connect Derek and to connect Flynn and to create this ecosystem of happiness and this ecosystem of health that we are all striving toward. Because yes, we're talking about happiness not being a goal, but you know, at the end of the day, happiness and health is it's a pretty good life. You know, when you're mostly healthy and you're mostly happy. And the best way to get there is through this routine of Power Hour for me, because it sets my day up. And if I start my day with gratitude, I'm great throughout the day. I'm a capable, highly skilled person. I am great throughout the day, and I am sharp in all these ways. If I don't start with gratitude, I'm just not myself.
yeah.
And I'm different. And so that is my routine. That's how I stay in gratitude. And then throughout the day, and this I think comes when you're conditioned to find things that you're grateful for. Then throughout the day, I just have a radar for things I'm grateful for. Sometimes I walk into this studio and I'm like, damn, we got a pretty sick studio, guys. I know sometimes I come in here and I'm like, why is there stuff laying all over it? I'm like, we're gonna clean this up and blah, blah, blah. We got a great studio.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really happy with I'm really grateful for the way this is working out. How we can have a podcast and on demand. And I mean, our studio is ESPN. I don't know if we're ESPN 1 yet, but we're ESPN 2 quality.
There we go.
We're getting there. So that's my elaboration on Power Hour and gratitude and how I practice it every day. And the last thing I'll say about that is when I'm not at home and I don't have my sauna and my cold plunge, which is my go-to, I'm like, it's like my little cocoon. Then I'll usually go out into a big field or grass lot next to the hotel or the woods behind the hotel or the beach, wherever we're at, and I'll try to sit in nature and do the same exact thing. Trish, what's your strategy here?
I mean, I could definitely be better at the routine part. I think I have so many excuses where I just am not very good at starting my day, but I will agree. I think on a regular basis, I am a grateful person. It's just like how I feel like I try and show up because I do practice EQ, and I was actually just looking up like why gratitude is an EQ skill, and it says number 1, self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, and social skills, which you just wrapped up very nicely into your story. I'm going to share like what I've now come to practice when I'm feeling, and I had that self-awareness now. I'm like, I am not showing up as a grateful person right now. I go out into nature. I try and go for a walk, and I always try and think about my kids. And I think to your point too, it's like last night when they got home, I like put my phone down and I was just like looking at each one of my 3 boys. Every time I talk about my kids, I just like hit this overwhelming emotion, but how grateful I am to be their mom and how grateful I am, the way that Jagger just does things so detailed and he's only learned that because he's seen that through practice. He's seen that through me and my husband. So that's what helps kind of ground me and center me back into what life is all about, which is not chasing these abstract things that are going to make me happy. It's actually what deep down in my heart is making me feel grateful to be on this earth and grateful to continue living every single day. So for me, it's getting outside, it's taking a deep breath, it's thinking about what grateful things I have instead of what I don't have. Because I think a lot of times, especially Instagram, I've also started to like remove Instagram from my phone sometimes because that can also really bring me down. Is if I'm scrolling, it's like all the things I don't have, but everyone else has. Who cares? I have so many great things in my life, and that's what I need to be focused on.
So the gratitude rewiring concept is something that Huberman talks a lot about, and he basically found in his lab that there's 2 sides to gratitude. There's giving gratitude, and then there's receiving gratitude. And I'm very good at gratitude itself and giving it. Receiving it has been something in the last year and a half that I've really worked on. And as a leader, I always wanted to like give up to other people, right? I always want, somebody would say, hey, thank you for burn. And I'd say, you know what? I appreciate that, but it's actually Trisha and my team and Morgan and the other people around me. And I appreciate you, but I give up all of the mastery to my teachers. And to me, my teachers are the people who are around me all the time, right? I'm not into like mentor-mentee where I have like one person and their philosophy is like the Bible. I learn from everyone around me at all times. And I've gotten much better, and I've actually noticed what Huberman's saying. We're going to play a clip from him in a moment, but what he's saying is like actually when you get gratitude, if you can receive it, that's almost, if not more powerful than actually giving it is the ability to receive it. So giving and receiving gratitude, if you are getting really good at giving and receiving gratitude, you're going to have the best shot at the maximum quality of life possible. Play this Huberman clip and we'll react to it.
We now know with certainty that a regular gratitude practice can enhance many, many aspects of our physical and mental health by default. So we don't always have to constantly be in practice trying to be happy. So what does an effective gratitude practice look like? Turns out that the most potent form of gratitude practice is not a gratitude practice where you express gratitude, but rather where you receive gratitude, where you receive thanks. Receiving gratitude is actually much more potent in terms of the positive shifts that it can create than giving gratitude. Think into when somebody was thankful for something that you did and really start to think about how you felt in receiving that gratitude, or imagining or thinking about deeply the emotional experience of somebody else receiving help. Repeated gratitude practice changes the way that your brain circuits work. The circuits associated with motivation and pursuit are actually enhanced as well. So that's very strong incentive.
So what Huberman would then say is that if you're depressed, the best way is to go out and help somebody else, and they will tell you thank you, and it will help you. I can't remember guys in studio here, but there was a podcast. It was maybe last year. Or was a social media clip, and I talked about this, and I got a ton of backlash for it because there were, for whatever reason, it caught like the explore page on Instagram or something, and a bunch of people that really like didn't really know my vibe like came in, and I told people, hey, if you're depressed, it's because you're talking about you too much. It's because you're using the word me. Everything is focused around the ego, me, I. Everything's about me. Oh, the world's always I. Am not feeling good, therefore I can't get up and I can't do this, and I'm feeling bad and they're not doing this for me and I'm not set up for success, and it's all the I all the time. That's the best way to get into a depressive mindset, as if you're focused on you all the time. So what Huberman is saying, and which I found to be true, and not in the lab but in real life, is that when you actually are somebody who seeks to help other people, if you seek to help other people, you're going to be default way more happier than if you seek to serve yourself. Like doing for others will create a quality of life for you that you could never create if you're doing for you. And weirdly, by doing for others, you're doing for you, is what Huberman's saying. So by going, let's just say, all right, Thanksgiving, okay, or Christmas. We're in the holiday season. Let's just use Christmas, for example. You're lonely on Christmas, right? Maybe there's reason to be sad. Maybe your father had just passed and your mom and dad used to, host Christmas every year, and you're not married yet. And, maybe you don't have anywhere to go for Christmas this year. And you start to get into this, oh, this year's going to be terrible. It's just going to be me. It's going to be by myself. Go find a food kitchen. And if you want the best Christmas that you've ever experienced, go help people on Christmas morning. Rather than getting gifts, go give them. Go give them. Because when you give that gift of volunteering your time at like a food shelter, the people there are going to be extremely grateful for you, and it's going to build your self-esteem. And so if you're somebody that disagrees with me, then you're going to have a very tough time getting out of depression. Can you find it? Okay, it was probably buried in there a long time ago, but that was the notion. Was that don't tell me to go help other people when I can't even help myself. Cup is completely empty, Devin. Easy for you to say, trainer, rich guy, business owner. Easy for you to say, but watch. Do it. Help other people. Be open to gratitude. And you'll see what Huberman's talking about, that receiving it is much more potent than giving it.
When you go help other people and they aren't receptive or aren't appreciative, that can sometimes suck. So like, what do you just...
Well, that's a really, really interesting question. I have this debate in my family all the time. And let's keep on Christmas. It's the giving with the expectation of getting in return.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm saying that naturally when you go give, you're going to get gratitude back, because people are truly genuinely going to be thankful. Like 9 out of 10. Yeah. But what do you do with that one person that isn't? Okay, that's a great question, because then it's a moral question, because it's asking you to answer the question, why am I giving? Why am I giving? Am I giving to make people's lives better? Or am I giving just to get gratitude?
Yeah.
Am I giving with an expectation of anything in return? So it's a great point, because I could potentially sound contradictive unless we clarified this, which is you're giving out of the you're giving out of the goodness of your soul. And probability will say that most people will have the law of reciprocity and they will thank you back. And you'll get that. But the 3 to 1 person that doesn't out of 10, if you're giving just to get, that person could actually put you in a downward spiral even deeper because you expected that you give a gift to this person that they're going to give a gift back to you. And this happens all the time in like exchanges, like Christmas exchanges. The last time that you were at a family or friend's house and you gave somebody, you got them a sick gift.
Yeah.
It was like the best gift. You were so excited about it and they got you nothing in return. Or they got you something way less on par in return.
Or they're like, thanks.
Or they're like,
yeah,
they didn't give you a gratitude the way that you expected them to give you gratitude. What happens to you? I have this debate in like my family. Like it's the giving with expectations of getting. As long as this is a great clarifying point. I'm so glad that you asked this question. What are your expectations of the other side when you are giving? If you have them, then you're practicing pseudo gratitude.
Yeah.
If you don't have expectations when you're giving, meaning I will give you a gift, Trish, and if you get me nothing in return, I'm going to be so happy that I made your life better because I gave you this gift.
Yeah.
No matter what, whether you give me that gratitude back.
I think it's a good practice for self-awareness because it still catches me off guard sometimes because I do like to give and be giving. But then when I get caught off guard with someone who doesn't show me gratitude back, I'm like, wait, what is that? I don't feel like I was being fake in my gratitude, but I also just wanted them to be happy. That's the point of this conversation. I wanted them to be happy.
Yeah. And sometimes we can want that more for somebody than they want it for themselves.
Yeah.
And they don't have a heart that is conditioned for gratitude.
Yeah.
They have a black heart. And we can dust it off and clean it up. And a lot of times that comes from trauma. It comes from somebody did them wrong in a way in which it has deeply seated tangible emotional ties to this seamless interaction, right? Like just the Christmas gift. But because I was done dirty so many times, I couldn't dare be vulnerable and show any gratitude because I'll get burnt again.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the next layer deeper. So let's continue. All right, let's continue. So that's how we practice gratitude. We now know gratitude is a muscle that gets stronger the more you practice it. Huberman said it will become a default mode network for you, a DMN. That's that idea that we talk about on the podcast a lot of neuroplasticity, where we can have a gratitude rewire, where you can go from this person who isn't grateful to somebody who is ultimately extremely grateful even for the small things. And all that's going to take is a decision from you to say, I'm no longer going to chase happiness and I'm going to start noticing what I'm grateful for. This isn't trivial stuff, guys. This isn't like positive thinky 1980s, 1990s, like motivational speaky, I'm happy, I'm positive, and if I say it enough times, I'll be happy and positive. All that's BS. Okay, lip service. We actually feel it. That's the key I hope you're taking away so far. If you're going to be somebody that's grateful, you have to feel gratitude. You can't just think about gratitude. Then the next layer is literally letting go, detaching from all these things that could make you depressed in the first place. This need, not the want. This is very clear. It has to be very clear for you as I discuss this. It's wanting versus needing. I'm like in the 1% of the 1% of the 1% most ambitious people by the personality, not by choice, by just born personality. I have that pattern to be an ultimate high performance person who's miserable. That's literally what my culture pattern, my personality charts. If you look across the culture index or the, what do you call the Enneagram? What's some of the other ones?
I think those are two that I know.
What else is there? There's the Myers-Briggs personality traits. Whatever cultural personality trait thing that you do for your job or whatever you lean into, it's going to give you a pattern. Mine is exactly aligned to really high achiever, but but like the billionaire on his deathbed. Like, it's like you work so hard and you're so defined by ambition that it actually takes from all the other areas of your life, and then you die early because all you did was ever care about, work. Like, that's my pattern. So I've got to work really hard. I've got to work really hard at the happiness and the gratitude in the other areas of my life, and work on letting go of this idea of ambition and being defined by it. Not that I don't want it, not that I don't want to go to 10,000 locations. We're going to do that, but I don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't get there, I'm not going to be a miserable person because we under-indexed some ridiculous 1 in a century goal. I'm not going to force myself to say all or nothing with my own personal happiness. That doesn't mean, and people get this confused all the time, you don't have to lower your goals. You don't have to lower your ambition. You don't have to lower the destiny, the blueprint. You don't have to take your station down, right? You just can't be so fixated on having to get that it becomes your identity. And when it becomes your identity, that's because it was your personality long enough. Your personality becomes that because that was your thoughts and behaviors. And when your thoughts and behaviors are a certain way, that's how you experience the world. When you have those experiences, it becomes your personality. You have this personality traits or characteristics for long enough, it becomes an identity. And the most powerful force in human nature is to align with the identity and the blueprint that we set out for ourselves. So if you're somebody like me who is fixated on ambition and that's your end all be all, you might reach it, but you're likely going to be miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And my goal is to live a happy, healthy, gratitude-filled life and achieve great things along the way, and do my very best to not leave any chips on the table, to not leave any strategy, any potential on the table, and to exhaust all the potential and actualize all of myself that I had without losing who I am as a person before some arbitrary, goal that was written down on a piece of paper.
This equation is more intricate than I think it feels like it could be an easy thing to attain, but am I wrong in saying that you can't really truly get there unless you do the work on yourself? Because I think about this art of letting go, and I think about the triggers that I have that are then what is a reflection of sometimes my personality and how I show up, and how then I can show up ungrateful or show up unhappy. So it's really, you have to dig deep. It's EQ, and it's also understanding who you are at your core and your triggers.
100%. And you also have to realize, I'll add to that there is a natural, Google this too, Deej. There is a natural happiness decline curve, just based on age. So you could think,
cool,
right? So like you're fighting this force as
upward
well,
battle,
right? You're fighting this force, so it becomes even more important. Your individualization, right? Your ability to think for yourself. The happiness decline curve, it's a fact. This was a Gallup study that said at about age 23, happiness steadily declines until around 50. Why? Because of the very same natural phenomenon that I was just explaining. We've all got it in our heads that we've got to be this version of ourselves. And after we graduate college, it's like, I got to go out into the real world now. And then
show starts.
Yep. And then by age 50 is when we get about old enough to realize that this hamster wheel of happiness is something that we can't be on anymore. And then we start doing what I would hope that you would recognize and start doing now, way earlier than 50, which is aligning your goals appropriately to include exclusively your God, your family, your wife, your husband, your kids. Like, that's around 50. What we naturally realize on average is that you can't take all the ambition with you when you die anyway. So you might as well spend Act 2 building memories rather than focused on whatever it is you're focused on, making money or building a company or, pouring into your kids so much that you literally gain 50 pounds, lose all sense of yourself. And, it takes till your kids are out of the nest before you finally wake up again and realize that, oh my goodness, I've been full sending my life away by not being grateful or not even stopping to recognize gratitude. So the art of letting go and the art of detaching is especially important from 23 to 50. All right. Look at this across this GPT screen here. This says real happiness curve across life. What is this saying, DJ?
It's saying that basically when you're younger, you have that naivety. And so there are a lot of things that will make you happy in life. And then as you get older, you kind of realize, like, you know, the hustle and bustle of work life and just life in general, all of that can be a little bit cumbersome, or you attach happiness to certain things. And then as you get older, you kind of realize, like, you know what? That's really not what life's about. It's about spending time with your family and finding joy in the little things. And then they kind of see that curve come back around because they're like, oh, we're so far past that. Maybe they're, you know, retired now, and they're starting to slow down and they're finding the joy in the little things.
Yeah. And that's exactly what a midlife crisis is. Right? Like people that have a midlife crisis, they get around that 45 to 50 year mark and they're like, what the hell have I been doing my whole life? It's just a recalibration. I just happened to go through, I had to become a man when I was 12, like theoretically, right? Like in practice, doing things that I was far too young to be doing. And so I got a jump start. My midlife crisis started happening around 35, where I'm like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm all the time, all I care about is this company all the time. I'm like, my kids are growing. My wife is growing right in front of me. My relationship is not getting better as fast as it could. It's not maybe sometimes getting better at all, staying stagnant. It's like the what the hell are you doing moment.
Yeah.
How quickly can you get to what the hell am I doing moment? Right? That sense of pain that you need over you. When I looked out in my life and my marriage is flat, I could be a better dad for my children. I could be happy. I could be like more focused on my attitude when I'm around them. I could be more focused on the usage of technology when I'm around them. Like I'm not necessarily showing up as well as I could. And it's like, that's what you're going to be, dude. You're going to be, you said that your number one goal in life is to raise children that never have to even look at the same environment that you looked at when you were a kid, like to not only break the chain, but like evaporate the chain. And here you are still, you're drinking a lot. You're like doing other things you shouldn't be doing. You're, sleeping too much, whatever it might be. What the hell is going on? What are you doing? What are you doing? Wake up. And that for me was, I did a 7-day fast and it completely changed my life spiritually. And as much as I was tried to be grateful before, I'm moving with the attitude of gratitude now. And my life is just so much better. Like letting go of the need, like being fixated on needing to have 10,000 locations and needing to track month over month, week over week, day over day to get there was putting me in a position to just be mildly depressed. And here I am, like people would cut off their left pinky to be where I am, and I'm sitting here not even being grateful for it at all, or at least attempting to be, and like thinking about gratefulness but not feeling it, and then being a person who is in alignment with who I am naturally, which is a high energetic, happy, positive, for the most part, person. I started having to put the mask on, and that sucked.
Yeah.
And I hated it, and I refused to go on. So I'm not recommending a 7-day fast to you guys. I'm just saying I did that for me because spiritually, not physically, I was in a place where I was broken and I needed to do something radical because the mundane. I read a book called 10X is Better Than 2X. And it says that if you just try to up the goal a little bit, like in your world, let's go from like 150,000 leads to 200,000. Like that's much harder than saying, let's go from 100,000 leads to 1 million, right? Because it eliminates all the stuff that you could potentially do. And it forces you to raise your floor so that the things that you consider, the strategies you consider to get there, get inherently eliminated.
Yeah.
Because you can't.
You got to do it differently.
You got to do it differently.
Yeah.
You can go from 1x to 2x kind of making minor adjustments. You can't go from 2x to 10x with a minor adjustment. You have to make radical adjustments. So that's what I did. I made a radical adjustment. I did a 7-day fast and topped off a 40-pound weight loss with that, and hadn't been the same since, really. And people around me notice. They notice that I'm sober and more even keel, that I don't have a mask on, able to be more honest with people about how I'm feeling in the moment. So I highly, highly, highly suggest that you guys zero in and ask yourself where you're at on your happiness decline curve. That 30, age 23 to 50, you have that steady decline. How do you combat that? And how do you get to what the hell quicker? Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. What do you think? Let's round this conversation out with let's talk about identity. Let's talk about what happens when you start actually letting go. When you stop identifying yourself with the things that you used to define yourself with that got you into a miserable state of being in the first place. And let's talk about what you're giving up, maybe by not giving yourself the gift of gratitude. There's this illusion of control that people have that can really feed into this. If you're somebody, raise your hand right now. If you're somebody that needs to control everything, podcast, come on, friends. If you're somebody that's like, if you need to control stuff in your life, raise your hand nice and high. Okay. So many of us have this deep level of need for control. I personally am not in that camp. And my whole track record, my whole career has been, how do I stop doing anything? Like, I don't want to work at all, right? Honestly, like, I love working, but I don't want to work at all, right? Trish, you're a byproduct of that. Amber is, Morgan is, DJ is, Chelsea is. I want to have a podcast, but I don't want to produce it. I want to have social media, but I don't want to do it. I want to be a great marketing company. I want to be a world-class paradigm-shifting marketing company, but I don't want to make the videos. I want to run a world-class organization, but I don't want to have direct reports. I'm somebody that I don't thrive in control. I'm the complete opposite. I'm very rare. I get it. Like, I thrive in like uncertainty. Most people, if you have a level of certainty, like you thrive in certainty, is that maybe your number one need? Like, you need to know the road ahead. You need to anticipate. You're somebody who's like tranquility and contentment are like music to your ears. Chaos to me and unpredictability and wild, wild west, like being in Times Square on a scavenger hunt on a time clock is what makes me me. Like, I'm winning that competition.
There you go.
Right? And I will thrive in it. And even if I lose, I'm going to have such a great time doing it. But I know that I'm rare because I just observe the world. I'm not going to talk about those who need uncertainty, because most of you need certainty. Morgan is this way, which is why we're yin and yang. She needs certainty. She needs to know the road ahead. But that can go too far. But it can go too far both ways. You can be so wild, wild west that there's no blueprint at all and you're just a chicken with its head cut off. Or you could be somebody that demands control out of everyone around you, and then you become domineering, you become demeaning, you become somebody who belittles other people because you need to know control. And if I have to know everything in the future, your ideas create uncertainty, and therefore your ideas are rendered useless because it creates this volatility in my otherwise certain marketplace which is my world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So certainty, too much of it's bad. Uncertainty, too much of it's bad. The great skill of life. But what happens when you do start letting go and realize that you have an illusion of control, that the more control people believe they have over life's outcomes, actually the less control that they have, because, and we can talk about this in a minute, we'll elaborate on it, but because of the less control, the less happiness they become, because their number one need for actualization, self-happiness is a definitive future.
Mm-hmm.
So if my future isn't definitive, therefore I'm going to be less happy. So the need for control actually creates a dystopian future, which creates less happiness. And people, if you have like a severe level of control, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know it because you're not happy, because everything threatens your future, because you need it to be your way. If it's not your way, it can't be any way. And if you're that person, then you're going to push people away from you in your life, and the lack of relationship is going to exacerbate the happiness that you feel And this is the control illusion is a very slippery slope. Because if I push ideas away, I push people away that have those ideas, and I've pushed the people away that have the ideas, well, then I don't have any connection. And if I'm valuing certainty in the future, but I don't have connection in the present, then I inherently don't have certainty in the future because I don't know what my relationships are going to look like. So there's a level of control that every human that has that need for how would you say, a certain future, you need to dial that back 10% if you're going to ultimately have a shot at being grateful and happy. If you're complete control all the time, life is going to punch you and punch you and punch you and punch you over and over and over and over. And it's going to force you to stop having such a high level of control on things because you're not supposed to. Yeah. Because you have God's will and you have a free will. And you're within the sandbox of God's will, you have your own free will. And God's will itself cannot be challenged. And God's will is for you to be Christ-like. It's for you to, even if you're not a religious person, is to be a person who lives with good core values and integrity and honesty. And you can get in a position where control is so important to you that you start those core values, and that following, for us religious people, following in the image of God and of Jesus starts to become something that you actually physically aren't able to do because your need for control is so high. So I'll stop there. The happiness itself isn't control. Happiness itself is the surrender of the control. And I think that's what's really important. Letting go, detaching, not needing it so bad. And once I stopped needing 10,000 locations to be happier, guess what? Our rate of getting there started increasing like crazy. Because I was able to hire somebody in franchise development and say, basically, here's the outcome. I don't care how you get there, but here's my outcome. And then I get out of the way and let that person do their job. And all of a sudden they bring in the right people and they have the right strategy and we start getting some traction. So it's a real thing. I've experienced it.
I was gonna say I'm like in the middle road. I don't need control, but I don't not need control. I'm like I can go either way. I think that's what my personality test says as well about me. But I will say I have found myself around people who do need control. I tried to show up as a different person, and that then created this downward spiral of me because I wasn't showing up with gratitude. So I think no matter what it is, and that's what I was reading out of this, is stop identifying yourself with things and being to define yourself by what you're giving, not what you're getting. And that is the real magic of being grateful, is by being grateful for what you bring to the table, not what you think you should bring to the table because what someone else is telling you that they think you should bring to the table. That's what I read through this because that resonates 100% with me. And it's something I've been working on, and I've gotten into such a much better place, which has then made me a more even keeled, showing up with more gratitude person.
And showing up with gratitude's hard. Yeah. And it takes it takes putting yourself in a voluntarily vulnerable situation. Yeah. A position where you're going to like voluntarily take on hard things, and whether it be like a physical thing, ethical or moral thing, the experience itself is of voluntarily taking on hard challenges is the reinforcement of self-actualization that releases that chemical dopamine that makes us happy. So when you voluntarily take on a hard challenge, nobody was forcing you to do it. And for some of you, that might be this illusion of control that we're talking about. You're taking on this hard challenge. You're going to become more of yourself and who you're meant to be and who you are supposed to be in the image of God. You're going to become more of that by voluntarily taking on hard challenges than you are by waiting until the hard challenges come on and mandatorily having to take them on. And this happens. This is what mental resilience is. This is why I talk about cold plunging and hot. And this is why I do it in my power hour, hot therapy. Contrast, just voluntarily doing the things that suck.
Yeah.
Because life is going to hit you so hard that if you condition yourself to be mentally resilient with the trivial things, then those non-trivial things like deaths in the family and the tsunami or the natural disaster that comes and wipes off your roof of your house and when you didn't have a proper insurance, like you can handle those things now. And it's not going to be a world collapsing event for you. It's just going to be a bump in the road, and mental resilience and the practice of it and gratitude will say that what happens is that mountains become speed bumps, that you don't take one little tiny problem and make it so big that you catastrophize it. And now all of a sudden it's a pin in my balloon and I'm done because I took this little seemingly small thing and made it into this big giant mountain that's immovable that I can't get over. So what happens when you start letting go is it just gets easier. Mountains become speed bumps. It's not that they're not there. It's just you're more equipped to handle them. And I think that's probably a good place to stop. I think we're getting to time on this. And it's probably a good place to stop. And if you like today's episode, guys, I really want you to subscribe to YouTube. Are we at 100,000 yet on our YouTube channel?
So
are we
close.
What are we at? 99,500-ish or 400-ish? 99,600 people. I need 400 of you right now to go to our YouTube channel and just to hit the subscribe button. We want this. We want the plaque. Okay? We want there's a little plaque that we get. What are we going to do for everybody when we get the plaque? We got to do something.
We're going to
It's
do big
100
something.
100,000. We got to come with like can you think about that, Chelsea?
We're going to express some gratitude.
We're going to express a lot of gratitude.
Yeah.
We're going to do something. We're going to come back next week, Chelsea. This is a task from this week to next week. We're going to come back and we are going to come up with a group incentive so that Trisha and I can get that stupid plaque that we want.
Not stupid.
I know, but it is stupid because it's a piece of plastic. But I want it. I want it. And I'm grateful for the piece of plastic
There you go.
because it's a representation of all the hard work.
Yep.
And I don't care. 100,000 isn't a million, and it isn't 2 million, and it isn't 3 million. I don't care. I don't care if it's 1. I just want the plaque.
We're going to get
It
it.
just happens to be at the 100,000 mark,
We're gonna
which
get
we're 400 people away from. So right now, go to YouTube, Burn Boot Camp, hit subscribe. You have to hit subscribe. Be one of those people that help us get there. If you love the podcast, we appreciate you guys. Trisha, anything else?
I want to say, tell your friends.
Tell your friends. Share this right now if you like it. Yeah, you just share it right in a text message. Shoot it right to them on YouTube. You can watch, as always, if you're on podcast or Spotify. And I think that about does it for today, my friends. We'll take it out like we always do. 2 claps on 2. 1, 2. Take care. We'll see you next time. If you guys really enjoyed this episode and you wanted to continue this conversation, episode 501, right here, our episode 501, it's called Progress Over Perfection. We talk about letting go of fear and letting go of this all or nothing thinking. It's a great podcast. If you're still on your drive or your commute and you want to stay with us, go watch episode 501 right now to stay on trend and on this topic. And I really think that you're going to like that one.